Hey, I was definitely hoping to have a little bit more of a professional video setup, but my little baby daughter is not sleeping because she is teething and she wants to be held all the time. Since she's actually resting right now, I figured we could talk now, and I'll just grab whatever moments in the day I can because this topic is really on my heart. So I want to talk about how to take care of your home when you have chronic depression or chronic physical issues. I have lived with depression pretty much my whole entire life and anxiety to a lesser extent. And every single time I would try to, get my house clean and get on top of things, it would go well for a couple of weeks and then I would get depressed and everything would stop. I'd obviously take care of my kids and I'd do my job and everything, but the peripheral stuff that I didn't have to do, I did not do. I just couldn't. On a not unrelated note, I've also had chronic pain for all of my adult life, pretty much. I was diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, fibromyalgia when I was 27 years old, and the process of trying to get on top and kind of have those under control has been pretty difficult. There are two things that have completely changed the way I approach myself and my home and everything else, and it is mindset and methodology. There are things that I've had to learn and unlearn, so that's my mindset. And then methodology is just practical things that I need to implement to keep things moving smoothly. If you are not familiar with any of my content, I am not striving to have a perfect home. I'm striving to have a comfortable home. I'm not in a season of life where my home is going to be super duper clean all the time or, everything put away at one time. I have 5 kids. And as I'm obviously talking about, I have chronic conditions. So it's just not going to happen in my life right now, and that's okay. So let's get into the mindset, and then I'll tell you the practical stuff that I do. I used to try to beat depression. I thought every time I was feeling good, that I had to analyze it and figure out, why do I feel good and how do I just keep this going forever? Like, I just can't go through a season of depression anymore. I just can't, because my rhythms were kind of like, I'd feel good for probably 3 weeks and bad for a week. That's kind of how my depression looks like in numbers typically. And it didn't matter that this had happened for decades. I still would try to find a way to beat my depression. And I would do the same with my health. I was constantly trying to cure myself. I just needed to feel okay and feel strong. And I still think it's possible that I could get to a place where I don't feel depressed or even have chronic pain anymore. But I no longer try to force that issue. Like, I've just made peace with the fact that this is me. I have a highly sensitive brain that is very empathetic to the struggles of other people and my own struggles. And obviously, I have autoimmune issues. So I work on those. I do the very best I can as far as like ways that I can take care of myself, but I don't fight anymore that it's going to happen. I understand my rhythms. I can tell when my body is starting to go into a flare. I can tell when my mind is slipping into a depressive state. And instead of like fight it or get so upset with myself, I just say, okay, how can I support myself during this time? The truth of the matter is, fighting the fact that I have depression or that I have this pain, that is like a trigger for my shame. So the more I think I have to get myself out of this depression, or why am I feeling so weak again? Why am I sick again? That is just going to confirm the message that I am doing something wrong, that I need to fix myself The shame has been huge. The guilt that I have felt towards my family for feeling bad. I couldn't help it, but I still felt so guilty towards them. And every time you let shame take its hold, two things are going to happen. You'll start to feel less great about yourself just on the deep level. That shame, each time it hits, kind of reiterates to yourself that this image of you as being a failure, as not being able to like thrive in a normal way, that just continues the thought pattern and makes it deeper that you are lacking in some way. And you're not. This is just what's happening. And the other thing that shame does, I believe, in my experience, is that it makes the situation worse. If I feel depressed and I shame spiral, I will stay in that depression at least twice as long. If I feel depressed and I say to myself, this is normal, this is okay, you're set up to handle this, just practically speaking, and I want you to rest. You need to rest. You need to feel this. You need to like be in this moment. That's okay. I will come out of that depressive cycle so much faster and so much stronger. And it's the same with my body. If I just let myself become overwhelmed with frustration and shame that I can't do what I have had an expectation of myself doing, then my body can tell. It just feels weaker. But if I say, look, it hurts. You need to rest. You should not feel sorry towards anyone for asking for what you need. I would never make someone feel bad if they needed to rest because they were in pain, period. So I'm not going to do that to myself. And because my mind is right, because I allow myself, I don't struggle against what I'm feeling, I tend to feel better quicker. Another big deal when it comes to how I feel about my home, and I talked a lot about this in my previous video, is I don't have unrealistic expectations of myself, or at least I try very hard not to. I have been deeply impacted by the messages that I have received just as a woman, frankly, and by social media. I felt so much pressure to keep my house looking a certain way, and I thought that the way my house looked was somehow a reflection of who I was as a person. And that is, it doesn't make sense, and it also is so unhelpful. I have spent a good amount of time just telling myself over and over certain messages that I needed to hear repeatedly because I had heard the negative ones repeatedly. Hi, Lovey. Oh. Who I am as a person is not dictated by my home or my looks or... Hello. She's awake. I don't know if you've ever had a baby that just pops up. This baby, she's had abs since the day she was born. She will be asleep and then she'll just pop right up. Yes, you will. Hang on, I'll come back. I could never clean. I could be depressed all the time, and that does not dictate my value or my worth as a person, and I'm just not going to buy into that anymore, and I hope you don't either. But methodology is going to be ways that you can practically assist yourself, because we know that we have certain rhythms. I'm sure if you are watching this, you have some sort of chronic condition. If you've had it long enough, you can probably tell that there are times when you feel worse, or you can kind of feel it start to happen. So anyway, here are some things that have worked for me. I first of all created a system of cleaning that worked really well for me. I have a lot of content about this. I just posted about it on my last YouTube video. I have a lot of TikTok videos about it, but my system supports the fact that I am not always going to be feeling good, and it allows me to have times when I can't or don't want to spend time cleaning, and I can just pick up where I left off without things completely falling apart. So that works very well for me. I have daily tasks that I do that are just absolutely imperatives for the day. I have weekly tasks. It's a way of breaking up things that just have to be done weekly, obviously, so that it's not all happening on one day. And then I have something called sprint cleaning, where I do very small, quick bursts of deep cleaning around my house. I have my home split into 4 sections. I do each section for a week. And if I'm feeling good, I do a good amount in that section. If I'm not feeling good, I don't. There are weeks that I don't do anything in a particular section, and that's okay, because the next month I'll be back in that section. If you do this long enough, you will see that you can miss sections. Everything's going to be okay because you have consistently put in the deep cleaning work, and it prevents things from falling apart. I have a little booklet and I have customizable lists, which I'll link in the description if that sounds like something that might help you. But there are people that does not work for. For instance, I've heard from people who work 10 or 12-hour days, and they're not going to come home and do 30 minutes of deep cleaning. Like, that's unrealistic for their life. So I would say just look at your schedule. Look at the times when you feel terrible. Look at the times when you feel like you've got the most bandwidth, and try to kind of schedule what works best for you, but just make sure that it keeps consistent. Try to find something that will work pretty long term for you, even though you have to tweak it from time to time, and you'll start to see a difference. Other than like a schedule, you know, having a rhythm of doing things, there are also hacks that you can do. For instance, the shower is something that can get dirty really fast. I have a little ways back in my videos where I cleaned all of the caulk out of my shower because it was all mildewed. When we moved into this house, I strongly believe that it was painted over, like all the caulking, because the mildew was like coming out. I would clean it and it would just come right out just days later. And what I found out is if the mildew goes all the way through the caulking and it's behind it, you're never gonna clean that out. Like, you cannot keep it clean. You just have to pull it all out. So I did the work of completely cleaning my shower when I felt good, and scrubbed every inch of it, pulled out every little bit of caulk, and then I recaulked with perfect pristine caulk. And let me tell you, that was months ago. It has not had one speck of mildew at all. So I did the work to get it completely clean at a certain point, and I did it in sections. I did not do that in one day. That was about 2 weeks of just doing a little bit at a time. But I was feeling pretty good, and so I did it, and it was worth it. And now, to keep it maintained so I never have to do that again, is I keep a little soap dispenser, which is half dish soap and half vinegar. And I have a Scrub Daddy sponge in my shower. And every time I take a shower, when I have the conditioner in my hair, I will just scrub one of the walls or 2 of the walls, or however much that I can do. There's always someone at the door trying to get into the shower, so I just do as much as I can in just like 60 seconds, basically. You'd be surprised, but that little thing, starting with a really clean shower and then having your tools in the shower so that you can quickly do 60 seconds of cleaning, it makes it so that I rarely have to do any serious work on my shower. So there are little tricks like that that I've kind of figured out. And if you want to know, if you want like a complete hacks video, we could do that, because I have some more. But that's just an example of ways, systems that you can put into place that will keep serving you. And then, you know, since I do pretty consistent little bits in my shower here and there, if there is a week or even 2 weeks where I'm not really feeling my best and I don't touch the shower, it's still pretty cool. It's still pretty fine when I go back to cleaning it. And maybe I'll have to do a little bit of a better scrub, but not really. Like it's not too bad. Okay, I have another baby with me. This is later today. Okay, so now we're gonna get into clarifying what actually matters to you as far as cleaning goes. There are places in your house that deeply affect you if they're dirty. There are places that don't really matter all that much if they're a mess. And it's good to know these things because when you are in a normal everyday routine and the energy that you have towards household tasks is like what, 40%? But then maybe you're in a depressive period or you're in a physical flare and your energy drops to like 5%. You're going to want to be as efficient with that time as possible. Of course, if all you can do is take care of yourself or your kids or whatever the situation is, that is more than enough. This is just advice for when you're able to take care of the absolute priorities, but you might have a little bit extra to give. And the kitchen is a really good example for me. That is a place that drives me insane if it's not clean. That is the place where we are constantly, that so much has to happen in the kitchen. So if it's dirty, if there aren't plates for making food, if there are dishes everywhere, it's highly stressful to my brain. And so the kitchen gets cleaned at the end of the day every day, and I try to pick up throughout the day. I'm very thankful because I'm not the only one who's in charge of the kitchen. That's kind of a duty that we share. And so if there is a place in your house that drives you insane, and if you do have someone that you can share chores with, that's awesome. That's preferable. But regardless, if it was just me, I would make sure that the kitchen was cleaned because that is vital to me. The second thing is the bathrooms. I don't clean the whole bathroom. I don't worry about the bath or the shower. I already told you my shower trick. I don't worry about the mirror. That's not very important to me, or the floors. The things that I worry about are the toilet and the sinks. When the toilet is disgusting, it makes me feel a certain way. I have like an issue with like smells, and when the toilet smells like it's not clean, it just makes me want to barf. So that, and then when the sinks are really disgusting, that really bothers me too. It is not time intensive to clean out the sinks. It doesn't have to be a great job, just spray your cleaner and wipe them down just super fast. Or scrub the toilet. That can happen once a week, and that will keep it, passing. It'll be acceptable. So that might not be something that bothers you, but the key is to just find what bothers you. The third and last thing is the laundry. We have 8 people. I do laundry for 7 people, but I really try very hard to keep the laundry cleaned. I have a bunch of laundry baskets for when I cannot get it folded and hung up. So if nothing else, people will have clean laundry, even if they have to search for it for a little bit. That's part of the fun. Those are my 3 areas. And the last thing I would say about methodology is try to figure out what is going to serve you when you're struggling. I really don't like, for instance, Clorox cleaning wipes. I like more natural cleaners. I try to use cloth rags. But when I'm feeling really bad, the idea of having to search for a rag and the idea of even having to wash one more piece of laundry makes me feel insane. So pulling out a wipe really quickly to wipe everything down and tossing it in the trash, while that's not my ideal, it still keeps a task done that would have been neglected otherwise. And all of these little things add up to make you feel a little bit better. And that's just what you're looking for. Something that I haven't done, but Casey at Domestic Blisters, something she has suggested for people who are especially in like a depressive slump, is to use paper plates. It is not going to be something that you probably want to do all the time, but if that keeps the dishes out of the sink for the most part, and that helps you keep things running, then that is the most important thing. If it's not going to happen otherwise, do that. Your methodology is specific to you and your home, and I just think that it is a very useful tool to not look at your house as a whole at any point in time. That's part of the way I do my adaptive cleaning. If I look at the whole house, I'm going to be so overwhelmed. But if I have it in like bite-sized pieces that I can do a little bit at a time, that does not overwhelm me and that does not strain my body too much. So, and methodology is the same in this situation. You're not going to look at your house as a whole. You're not even going to look at your regular cleaning schedule as a whole. You're going to just pick what, if I only have this much energy, if I only have this much mental bandwidth. If your bed being unmade doesn't seriously harsh your vibe, don't worry about it. If toys being all over the floor is not a deal breaker for you, don't worry about it. Just the things that will absolutely stress you out the most. If you have the ability to take care of those things, let the rest go. No shame, no unreasonable standards. Just what is realistic at this moment to do, and do that and be okay with that. Like, pat yourself on the back. Don't beat yourself up because you haven't accomplished all the things that you feel like you're supposed to accomplish, or even more realistic expectations that you have for yourself. The days are different for some of us. The weeks can be different for some of us. So just capitalize on the time that you have when you're feeling good to put smart systems in place to get yourself set up for success. And when you're not feeling good, do the things that will matter the most to you and let the rest go. And be proud of yourself for being wise enough and kind enough to give yourself that grace, that leeway. If you are like me, that is going to be huge, huge for you. And it will really contribute to you being just a happier person in general, someone who lives a lot more and regrets a lot less. So that is my hope for myself. That is my hope for you. If you have questions, just let me know. Like I said, I'll have the booklet and my lists in the description box. But if you just want to look at my list, if you want to take screenshots, they're on my Instagram highlights. I love talking about this. I think it's so important. So if you have questions or if you want more content made about this kind of thing, just let me know. I hope you have an excellent week, and I hope that each day you are learning how to be kinder to yourself and more supportive of yourself. I will see you next time.